today will be a very short one. I wanted to talk about a couple of things, but due to time, we're not going to be able to do it. So let's take the time and then treat something non-technical, okay? So that at least you take that home as a dress rehearsal for Saturday. And I'm yet to confirm Saturday's class because there are a couple of things, that's going. So I will let you know if we will have a class on Saturday or not. It's very likely we will, but I will definitely let you know that. All right, so there are always processes involved in implementation. There is always planning. You don't just go to the client side and then you start creating info objects, or you start loading flat files, or you go into ECC and start doing stuff. It doesn't happen that way. Everything is very well planned, and there are different methodologies in the world of IT. We have what we call the SDLC, the Software Development Lifecycle. Okay. So if you want to create something, there is a way where you plan for that. You sit down, figure out the cost involved, and you figure out the stakeholders that are involved, how you are going to be creating that product. Then once you have all of that, then you can move on to the next where you're like, okay, this product, how do we build it? What information do we need? What input and output do we need? And then after that, then you can go into a design mode, and then you can actually actualize what you're trying to do. This is the same thing within SAP. So in SAP, we have what we call the Asa methodology. Okay? The Asa methodology is a 5-step process that guides the business and the project. And so you start with what we call the project preparation. Okay? During the project preparation, you and I are most likely not going to be there. There will be meetings that will be held from a very high level. Stakeholders will have meetings and they will plan. And if it's a new SAP implementation, they will even talk about the hardware that is going to be used and who are the partners and who is going to bid for the project and all of that stuff, right? From a very high level, all of that stuff, the planning, very high level planning is done so that they determine the teams and determine the people that are going to be involved, the steering committee, who is going to be responsible for what at that project preparation phase. Okay, so this is before you and I probably join the project. If you are a solution architect, you might probably join over there if you have to give them infrastructural advice and stuff like that. But then from there, then we move on to the next level, which deals with what we call the business blueprint. This is where you actually have your requirements gathering workshops. All right, so blueprint is very, very important. So you go to a company and they are implementing SAP. You're not going to be the only consultant over there if it is a fresh implementation. You may be in a group of 10, 20, 30, 50 BW consultants. Yes, BW consultants. Like, what are 50 BW consultants doing here? That tells you how massive some of these projects can be. And people are allocated and designated to specifics within the project. So during this phase, meetings are organized. The users that are going to tell you the reports that they need, or where they are currently getting it from, or how you can help them better be effective in their business, will be a reason why you will be going to some of these workshops. Okay? Workshops can be very interesting. So you took a class, you don't have a lot of experience, and you go and sit down, and these guys are talking about, you know, WBS element, and talking about the sales orders, talking about the POs, and talking about all these jargons, and you're like, oh my goodness, I am dead. Calm down. You know, if you're lucky, you probably not find this in your first project. But if you do, that is an opportunity for you to learn. You may not be able to talk too much because you're not clicking and creating. But you sit down and you understand, or you listen to what they're doing. You know, one of the things that you break it down into, look, at the end of the day, they are trying to figure out what they want from a reporting standpoint. Okay? Reports in BW are made up of info objects. Info objects correspond to specific fields, isn't it? And these fields come from certain tables and certain data sources and certain functional areas within your ECC environment or your source system. So when they start talking, nail it down that way so that you break it down and you understand that, look, it's all about fields. It's all about where the data is coming from. It's all about what they want. So when they tell you, you know, we want customer, sales rep, and this in that report, or sometimes they'll show you reports that they were creating that are not BW, but some other reports they get from somewhere else. You can analyze that report and be able to do what? Derive the fields that will be necessary in the project. Okay? So it's actually it's a great experience to have and be there during these requirements gathering and these workshops, because you feel like a consultant. You ask questions, you know, and they tell you, and you know, they tell you what their pain points are, what their problems are, what they want, and you write all these things down. You jot every single thing down, everything. You write it down. Because you know what? After these workshops, what you have written or jotted down, you're going to translate that into those requirements that will be used for your blueprinting. Okay? So blueprinting can be query design specifications. Okay, query design specifications. When I say query design specifications, I'm talking about what makes up your query. What do you want user entry variable? You want it in the company code? What restrictions? How is the query going to be? That can be a requirement, and your blueprint from a query standpoint can be that way. You can also get a functional design document that basically tells you where the data is coming from, whether it's sales projects that you're doing, and where the elements are and how they actually want it, without necessarily going so much into the reports. But in terms of the fields and where it's coming from and all of that, you can get it from your functional design document. Now, from your functional design document, you can actually create an architectural document. How am I going to design my data warehouse? Is this data load going to go into an info provider of the type InfoCube or an info object? You know, from the PSA, where do I load it first? This data is coming from A, B, C, D, E data sources. How am I going to consolidate all of this into one target before I push them up there are so many things that we will talk about that will make you even feel very good about these requirements, But again, blueprints are oftentimes done by the solution architect, the BW architect. Okay? So it's not like anybody is expecting you to go there and then be doing all of this by yourself. A lot of the times you will be at this realization phase, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But let me finish with the blueprints. You see, when you are sick and you go to the hospital, two things can happen. If you are a kid, the doctor may necessarily, you are not going to be able to tell the doctor what is wrong with you. He's gonna have to what? Get it out of you. Or there are even some older folks over there that when they go to the hospital, they say, I'm sick. What's wrong with you? I'm sick. What's wrong with you? I'm sick. They are not being able to what? Articulate exactly what is wrong for the doctor to be able to do what? Prescribe the right medication. So when that happens, the doctor is going to have to do what? Pull information out of you by asking questions. Pull. That is a pull requirement. When the users or the business, do not know exactly what they want. So you've got to pull that information from them. So, so what do you think about a kind of a report like this? Would you like, some sort of a vendor analysis where you have your vendors against, quantity sold, and then you'll be able to have a prompt where you can key in the date. You say, oh, yes, okay. So then that becomes what? An itemized, an action item, or it becomes a to-be used, situation, use case. You can write it down, and then later on, just by asking those questions, you might even find reports just by talking to them. You might end up with 100 reports over there just by talking. Oh yeah, they want something about vendors. Oh yeah, they want something about customers. Oh yeah, they want the type of a report that will talk about, the fracking if you're dealing with the oil companies, or service, or even talking about deliveries, or when it was delivered, or those ones that are open orders. There's just so many different types of reports that you can get by asking the right questions. So that becomes a pull requirement, because they don't have very much to tell you until you pull it out of them. Okay, that takes a little bit of skill to do. Now, we also do have a push requirement. These guys, these business users are savvy, they know exactly what they want, and they just tell you what they want. You need to have the ears and the eyes, and the attention to just write everything down. Sometimes it can go very fast. If you're not careful, you're going to miss certain things. But it's that simple. Okay? So once you've had these workshops and you have gathered the requirements, and sometimes the situation is not that they don't have any reports at all. They have certain reports, but it's not adequate. They need more fields in that report. But your info providers do not have those fields. You see? So those data sources are not enough, which means that there is more information that can be associated or linked to the data sources. That means that you're going to have to do what? Enhance that data source, come and add more info objects and more dimensions if you're dealing with transaction data, right, to your target. You get a picture. And then it also means that once you do that, you have more fields now available for your reporting, where you can drag and drop them into your reports. At that time, there will be that situation where you have actually done what? Enhanced, you've added more. So when you're talking to them, you know, it doesn't mean that they don't have anything at all. It doesn't mean it's a fresh implementation. It could be that you are identifying the gap. That is what we call gap analysis. As is versus to be. So your as is probably reports that are not, that probably has about 75% of info objects that you need. And your to be needs to be 100%. So you have to go find the other one, 25%, all the way from the source, so you can do what? Do these modifications all the way for you to actually add it. Okay? So there is an as is, and then there is a what? A to be. All right? The as is may necessarily not be a BW query. It could be legacy, it could be Excel, and that is the as is. The Excel is telling you that you have 10 columns. The to be is saying that, well, you know what, this is not enough. We are moving to BW. We need this 10 plus another what? 17 more fields. So that makes it 27 fields, and you have to figure out where the 17 is coming from. So the as is, the to be, means that there is a what? There is a gap in between. And that is where we perform gap analysis, by picking up what is already available and what is not. See, back in the days where there are when SAP wasn't really, there are so many other systems, bigger systems, older systems, file structure systems that are used instead of this multidimensional model, right? So you have systems where it comes a time where you want to do migration. And when you're doing migration, you have data sitting down somewhere, let's say flat file. You know, files, it's a file system. It's a computer that has like a lot of files that would have to be done, would have to be loaded into BW, or would have to be pushed into ECC for it to actually come in here. Those type of systems are what we call legacy systems. So when I say legacy system, I'm talking about a third-party system where back in the days, you know, it's a flat structure, file structure, where information is stored. Okay, and you want to pull that information from your legacy back into this environment. Okay, so that is basically what it is. Just think about it as a type of a stored system. So once you've identified the gap, you know basically what you're looking for. You have your requirements, and then before you complete your business blueprint, you might want to go through a process where the business will have to do what? Do a sign-off. So, well, this is what you guys gave us based on the meetings that we've had. And these are the lists that we have based off the meetings that we've had. This is the gap. This is what we've identified. This is what the business wants. And this is how the design is going to look like by the time that we are done. So business, can you check and tell us if we have missed anything or if this is what you are looking for? Some of the blueprint material can also be prototypes of reports. How your report is going to be, just pick up an Excel, you know, and then you start doing what? You start typing exactly how you would want it to basically, you know, be, right? And then you show it. So once they go through all of that, oftentimes you will have a solution architect or a BW person who is full-time with the company, who knows their stuff, together with the business, and they go through all of it, and they're like, you know what, this is all we want, let's sign off. Business signs off on it. It is not time for them to be making changes again during realization. And some clients are very, very, very difficult. You start realization, they've signed off already, you start developing, and they want to do changes. Remember that the company that you are representing might have been given this project, and the project is lasting for 6 months. And so based off the sign-off, you have the deliverables that you have to what? Meet. So if they keep coming to make changes over here after sign-off, it's going to delay you, and those that are paying you may not be happy if you're there and after the 6 months contract that you have signed with the millions of dollars that your company is taking, you're still there. So it gets very political in this situation. Once sign-off is there, you know, we don't want to be doing changes during actualization of the blueprint. So what is realization? Realization is the phase where you start clicking, creating, activating stuff, moving data, testing, doing all that stuff, right? Final preparation is the time where you've done your blueprint, you have actualized the blueprint, you are getting ready to, you know, prepare the system for a final release to the clients. But before you do that, you have to conduct training to show them how queries are used. You have to get ready, pull in data, test some of the stuff that you've done, right? Make sure everything is working. It's almost like we are rounding up. We are rounding up. And in the rounding up process, there is a training part of it that comes where, you know, okay, can you teach these users how to create BEX queries or how to run their reports in BEX Analyzer? That comes under the final preparation. So you may be asked to actually create a document for training, or to create a document for everything that you've done in the system if you haven't done that already. And it's not fun. That's not the fun part at all. I hate it. So once you're done at the final preparation, you then go live. Go live is the final test, and oftentimes your go live is done. I spoke to, you know, one of your predecessors, she's a consultant, and she said, well, you know, we are in go live, and she says, I haven't had enough sleep, so I'm in a hotel, you know, right now. Why? Because at night they were busy loading data, and that happens Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then maybe Monday. You need that period, that weekend, where you're going to have to load a lot of data, test, do a lot of preparation. There is a lot of stuff that goes on. It needs to be done within a short period of time, and that's what we actually have cutover. Okay, cutover is when you are going live, everything that you do just before you go live. Okay, that is your cutover. So when they ask you about cutover, how long did it take? Don't tell them, oh, it took 2 weeks. They will hang up and they'll know that you are a big liar. Cutovers are done over the weekend very quickly so that you can move the data so that the next day you go live and you pop the champagne. Yay, everything is great, wonderful. You know, let's go our way. Then after that, some of you guys are going to have to stay behind to support what has been developed. Support means every day you are monitoring the data loads. I wanted us to treat process change today. Obviously, we couldn't do that. But process change will allow you to automatically schedule all your loads and get everything that you need, you know, to get done in terms of loading data. So you check it, you make sure, did anything fail, did it not fail, what's up, what's happening, okay? So you can be doing production support for the rest of your life. And so people do that. And when you're doing that, it means you never see project preparation, you never see blueprint, you never see realization, final preparation, or even go live. So these are the 5 ASA methodology steps that we have. And here it's a little bit more detailed because I talk to you from the perspective of BW, and this one is general. From an ECC standpoint, there are so many other things that they do. You see, project preparation, training infrastructure, assessment, preliminary needs. So they do all these discussions. It's all meetings, right? Then you come to your analysis and your design during the blueprint phase. Okay? So you completed the needs assessments and then the tasks, and because who is responsible for what, all of that stuff comes in. Your training, your requirements, gathering, and then the finalization of, your requirements gathering and also training or whatever that needs to be done. Then you start with your actual development. Okay. So this is not the exact representation of what you would basically be doing from a BW standpoint. When you look at it, just realization, you are going to be creating stuff here. And then your final preparation is basically where you start getting ready for go live. And that is going to be between your final preparation and your go live will be your cutover. And like I said, your cutover will be a weekend for the most part, a couple of days. Okay? So this is all that I have for you today, ASAP methodology. We'll take it up again next time when we meet. Thank you for coming. All right, I'm going to unmute everybody. Now you can ask me questions for the next 2 minutes and we can go. Any questions? No questions. You guys are good.
I have a quick question.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, what's R3, R/3?
Who is asking that question?
Bernard.
Sorry?
Bernard.
Bernard, I thought I talked about R3 last week. Did I talk about R3 last week? Anybody? Can anybody tell him what R3 is?
R3 basically your ECC system where you have your applications to do your daily functions in the business processes.
So R3 is just basically just like the ECC. It's an older version. Bernard, did you remember me talking about how XP started?
Yeah.
From R1, R2, R3 before ECC, and then now we're on ECC 6.
Yeah, yeah.
Having Windows, Windows 3.1, Windows.
Yeah. I remember now. Yeah. All right, that's it. Thanks.
Yep. All right. Any other questions?
Okay, Evans, my question regarding this, when we talk about a business blueprint, so the audience, the user that we are asking these questions, are these people, they are more technical, what they are talking about, or the people who are actually using the application? Like if we talk about SD, is these people who are inputting data into the applications, like sales orders and other stuff, or some other people who are basically using only on the reporting point of view? Are we talking both reporting in terms of reporting or in terms of designing the BW?
You are going to have a combination of users, folks that will be brought in because they have functional knowledge of how data is and what kind of information that they will have. Let's say, for example, around SD, right? So they know their work very well. But you also have guys that are going to be doing reports, or guys that are not using BW, but they have Excel spreadsheets that are going to be loaded into BW. But then the reporting is going to change a little bit. So you're asking them, what are your needs? So it's going to be a combination of folks that understand the business data, the business process, for example, sales, right? And they will also be able to help. They will be able to drive, because sometimes we as BW people, we don't know the functional part, you know, unless it comes with experience, right? So we rely on the business a lot. Now, hey, go ask this woman, you know, how do we, you know, get this field? You know, well, it's picking, go to here, go here. This is what happens, you know. Somebody buys, or before somebody buys, the business has it that, you know, there is an opportunity that is created. A lead is generated, and when that lead, so a lead is, you know, you find somebody who may be interested in your product. And then you talk to the person about it, and the person is interested. So then, which is where they're going to check their credit or to see if they will be able to do purchasing. Once it gets over there, the lead now becomes opportunity. You see, it's a business process. From opportunity, then the next step is what? That opportunity buys now becomes a customer. So once that customer purchases, then the steps process that is involved all the way through picking, through delivery of the goods, you know, it's a methodology, it's a step, it's a business process that you need business people that understand that to be able to have, oh, you're looking for this, okay, here, this is where you go. This, you know, they know the screens, they use the system, so you need them to be able to give you information, especially when you're finding a field and you don't know where it's coming from. There are others that don't know a thing. So they're just there looking at you, occupying space. Dead matter. You know? Because they are paying them. So they just have to come and sit down there and look at you. So you're going to meet all kinds of people. All kinds of people. The good, the bad, the
okay,
ugly.
So, okay.
Yes.
The other thing is that when we talk about gap, so the gap is actually what is they required, what they required, and what we can do in order to fulfill their requirement. Is it the gap is it our side is a gap, or basically is it from the users they are using it?
Well, it's a business gap. It's what they have versus what they want to have. So say for example, you know, your cube, right? Your cube has product, it has sales rep, it has customer, right? Maybe I want to add employee. Maybe I want to add a couple of attributes that I want to see that is not there. By the time that I give you all those additions, when you compare those additions to what you have, you realize that what you have is less than what I'm asking. So the gap is the change. It's the new stuff that needs to be added. You understand what I mean? So you have to perform gap analysis. Let me give you another example of gap. We have cubes. We have data sources, right? We're saying that SAP comes with all these standard data sources. When you look at the data sources, they have all these fields. But you know what? Sometimes the number of fields that the business is looking for may be more than what SAP's data source delivers. In that case, we need to customize so that we can add a few more fields or more fields to that data source. So before you do that, you've got to be able to identify the gap. You have a data source that doesn't have everything in it. So where is the rest of the stuff? Okay, it's 100. The list is 100 fields. I know I need 150 fields. Where are these other 50 fields coming from? They're coming from table A, table B, table C, table D. Or 20 of these out of the 50, 20 of them are coming from another data source. You see what I mean? So you identify the gap and find where they are and add it to the whole implementation. Does that make sense? Yes, are you clear?
Yeah, yeah. So the blueprint basically is it kind of a, we draw something on the paper, or it's kind of a SAP provides some kind of a demo that we can show to the end users?
No, no, everything is paper. You got to design, you've got to prototype. You know, the business blueprint. Let me see. What do I have? What do I have to show you?